Good morning. Welcome to this service of Unity of Boerne Online. We're so glad you're with us this morning. You're in the house at Loveville. Just that simple. You're going to be blessed. We affirm that. You're blessed right now. We invite you to be part of this experience and remember us in your tithes and offerings. We do ministry. We do a lot of it. We do it online, in person. We need your gifts. We need your support. We need your tithes and donations. We know that when we give, we receive. So I invite you to press the PayPal button at the bottom of the page or send your gifts to Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. Again, that's Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. Thank you. You'll be blessed for it. Come join the family.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I know we got some people outside. We're trying to scare them in here. We'll see how we do here. But we're going to stand this morning. We're going to stand and sing. What are we going to sing, Lydia?
Perfection, number 47.
All right, let's go.
God is my perfect light, through him I live. God is my perfect truth, through him I live. God is my perfect light, through him I sing. God is my perfect voice, he speaks through me. God is my perfect light, through him I live. God is my perfect word, through him I'm fed. God is my perfect love, my point is clear. God is my perfect love, and he is here. God is my perfect peace, in my rest. God is my perfect joy, in my rest. God is my perfect will, for me just done. God is my perfect all, and we are one.
Well done, well done. I know we're kind of spread out. Find somebody and say, you look stupendous.
You guys look pretty awesome. Wow, that's a wow.
Please be seated. I do have some announcements for you this morning. Who knows what next week is?
Daylight.
Oh, I just heard daylight savings. All right. Well, if you want to be on time, set your clocks. I don't know which way it is, but figure it out.
Spring
You either be early for go for Sunday school or you miss the whole thing. I want to tell you that something that we've sort of forgotten lately, and Linda kind of reminded me, is we put the basket back out there for dry goods, and it goes to the Bernie services, home services, I guess, and we just haven't done it in a while. We kind of forgot, we got used to not doing it. So any canned goods you can bring, dry goods, things like that, we kind of collect it up until we have, well, a couple of baskets full, and we take it over. So it's out there today. Just haven't been able to do that, so we need to get back to that. All right, March 26th, that's a Saturday. It's work day somehow. So Pam Gauger organized everything. We're going to paint the inside of the church here. She says there's going to be food, there's going to be music to paint by. And we're going to do a bunch of stuff out there. So we need to decide, and Jim, I don't know, maybe you and I can talk about it, if we want to tackle the roof on the shed at the same time.
Wow.
So we have a couple of weeks here to kind of work on that, but I don't know if Pam is going to put together a sign-up sheet or not, but I'm letting everybody know that there might be one back there. I'm going to take a look, but either way, 26.
Would you like Patricia to send out a notice and
I
tell
did
people
send
to
her a
let her
note
know?
to do that.
But to tell people to let her know that they can participate, so we'll know.
Yeah, I had not done that part. I did try to get her to get it to the announcements, and I know she's going to send an email out to everybody. So that's the other thing that's kind of on my list, is if you're not on our email list and you'd like to be, there's a sign-up sheet in the back. Just put your new email address there. It's not, you only get maybe one email a week tells you what's going on, and then there'll be a special thing like work day or something like that. It's not too obtrusive, and let you know what's going on. Also, there is a clipboard in the back if you would like a name tag. And you want everybody to know who you are. It's a good way to do it. We got it. I know that's another thing we kind of got laxed on. Everybody's kind of forgetting to wear the name tag. I'm looking around. It's nothing to do with. Oh, Carmelo, there's one. This has got one. Okay. Todd just had one made, so he's got his on. Very good. And then I want to direct you to the normal things that we have going on here. All of our online service. I know we have 3 different Course in Miracles groups going on. 2 of them by Bob Patterson, 1 of them by Jay on Wednesdays. Course in Miracles, they're all those 3. Pathfinders meets on Thursday at 8. And all the login information and all of that is either on, it's in your order of service, but it's also on our webpage and also on our Facebook page. Oh, what have I forgotten?
Did you say prayer request?
I did not say prayer request. Everyone has a prayer request in their bulletin. That box will be coming forward here shortly. You can put that in at any time, but if you want to make that happen, you can stick that in there. They get prayed for here for a week, and then they get it set aside immediately, or they get prayed on for a month. Alright, I think I'm going to move on here. Where are we? We are reading the daily word, isn't it?
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
As we quietly and gently prepare for the reading of the daily word, we remember that we are in spirit with millions of daily word readers in churches throughout the world. The Christ candle is lit as a reminder of the Spirit of God within all of us, which we call the Christ within. The word for today is glory. And the affirmation, my life celebrates the glory of God. Glory fills the world with wonder when I attune my senses to it. I hear it in the sound of waves crashing on a beach and in the resonant harmony of a choir. I see it in sunrises and sunsets, in the beauty of gardens, mountains, and forests, and in the eyes of parents holding their newborn child. I feel glory in the depths of my being at those moments when I understand my life as God's life, living as me. There is no place where my human self ends and the divine presence in me begins. God and I are one. The glory of God is revealed in me as I release the thought that I am only human. God's glory shines through me as the divine presence, the Christ, expressing in my healthy body, my insightful mind, and my loving heart. The scripture comes from Galatians 2:20, and it is no longer I who live, but it is Christ who lives in me. Again, the affirmation, my life celebrates the glory of God. My name's Linda, and I thank you all for joining us in worship today.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
It's time for our congregational affirmation. We're going to stand and do that together. One for purpose.
I have prayed and prayed and prayed until my words seem worn and bare with arduous use. And I have knocked and asked again, and all my fervor and persistence brought no hope. I paused to give my weary brain a rest and cease my anxious human cry. In that still moment, after self had tried and failed, there came a glorious vision of God's power, and lo, my prayer was answered in that hour.
We're going to stay standing for just a minute, and we're going to do our celebration song. That's number 79.
God is my help in every need. God is my every hunger feed. God walks beside me, guides my way through every moment of this day. I know I'm wise, I know I'm true. Patient, kind, and loving too. All things I am can do and be through every moment that passes me. God is my health, I can't be sick. God is my strength, unfailing quick. God is my all, I know no fear. Since God and love and truth are here.
All right, we stand just a little bit longer, and we're going to do our, what are we going to do?
Opening prayer.
I need my glasses, unfortunately.
Together.
Our mission statement.
Yeah, it's not on here for some reason, but let's do that.
Opening prayer.
Opening prayer, we do that together?
Unity of Boerne is a vibrant, loving, spiritual community, providing a sacred space for personal growth. We honor and celebrate the Christ within all people.
Now you can be seated.
Thank you.
Looks like you're ready for the prayer box.
Unity of Boerne, we are a praying church. We're an affirming church. We believe the presence of God is in us, through us, and works as us. In this box, there are requests of all kinds. And we're going to affirm the truth that is with these individuals always, with the loving presence we have together. Infinite presence, we give thanks for your activity in the lives of these dear ones and all our lives. You know the hopes, the dreams, the concerns, the upsets, the whole gamut of emotions that are part of the human experience. But you are there. We know you are there. We affirm your presence. We invoke your presence. We know it's perfect love. And that perfect love infuses and suffuses the lives of these dear ones. We give thanks for the truth that sets us free. We believe the very best about the lives of those who are represented in this box, indeed our own lives. We know that truth is the answer to every question and every longing of our heart. We give thanks in abundance, and so it is. Amen.
So today happens to be Celebration Sunday. So flowers. You painted the house. Oh, I got another one.
Work on powers, it's good.
Anything on the fence? Oh, there's another one. Holy smoke.
Yeah, we know she
It
got
was a
something.
flower.
We know she got something to celebrate.
All right, sir. Your
Sure.
name.
I'm gonna opt for the blue, I guess.
All right.
Boy thing. I'm Tom, and what I'm celebrating today is a magical thing happened yesterday after long and enduring difficulties with multiple puppies in my home that I never expected to begin with. Finally, another one gets a home, permanent home yesterday, and is just enjoying himself with a new 11-year-old master. Perfection, and I'm just celebrating that. I'd love to have more joy like that in my life. 2 more to go.
2 more to go. Your name, young lady.
I am Carone. Good morning. Good
What are you
morning.
celebrating?
So, I had a great trip to Egypt. That's where I was last night. And on the way back, I met the most amazing women. And my mom passed about 4 years ago. And I was sitting on the plane next to this 80-year-old luminary who has this amazing blog and has traveled all over the world. And it was just so fun to meet her and get her acquaintance. And I know that we'll travel together in the future. So it's always great to have a new role model and a new friend.
Yeah, that's something to celebrate.
Don't make me feel like I'm not doing enough. I just want everybody to know that. She's everywhere, all over the place doing everything, so good for you. Your name?
Okay. My name is Ann King.
What are you celebrating?
I am celebrating a birthday coming up on Wednesday. And I remember Austin Creasy, who just turned 91, I saw on Facebook,
Yep.
says it this way, 70 trips around the sun.
Wow. Good for you. All right, your name?
I'm Jennifer.
What are you celebrating?
I think a lot of you know I recently had a loss, and I joked that my husband never. He had a 5-page checklist for camping, but he didn't leave me a checklist for life. And yesterday morning, I opened up his Google Keeps, and it turns out he left me a checklist. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, and everything I ever would have needed saved, and every image of every piece of insurance and everything. So I'm celebrating my husband.
Wonderful. Happy birthday.
Raise your hands to these fine people, wave your fingers, say we honor your celebrations.
We
honor your celebrations.
We're sure the best is yet to come.
Souvenir is a song that I wrote about how we tend to underestimate the value of our own story, which probably has several valuable stories within it. This song is about elevating our stories as holy and finding souvenirs from the journey that we can keep. I have often wondered how on earth did Shakespeare know all those rusty protocol quotations that he wrote. It's as if he left his trail into the starry sky and brought us back a
Thank you, India. Before I start, I'd like you all to know that we have a birthday that I should have got up and did the celebration of somebody very dear to this church and is a member. That her name is Diane Pope. And I'd like for all of us just to say happy birthday to Diane, because I think she's watching. I think all of you know her. So together, happy birthday, Diane. A very, very special person who's been a member here from the very beginning. So we wish her a happy birthday. This morning, I want to talk to you about the story of your life, the story of my life. And what does it mean, and how is it relevant to you today as to what happened years ago? Some of the things that are even minor and be major later on. It's said that big doors swing on little hinges, and that's true because we have a biocomputer up here that keeps track of every thought we think, everything we feel. It's sort of like recorded on a hard drive. Excuse me. Sort of recorded on a hard drive. And we bring this forward to match today what we had yesterday. So sometimes the things that we experienced when we were very young that had impact on us are things that come up similar as we're older, but we remember them in that youthful frame of mind, and sometimes we react in ways that are not for the best because we're thinking in terms of our teenage selves or our young selves. There is no time in the subconscious mind. So the story you're telling yourself, even when you're bringing up memories, is something that you're repeating right now. And it's sort of like you're imprinting on your subconscious the directions for the way you want to go. That's why forgiveness of yourself and others is so important. And knowing that you are really the author, director, and creator of your life, and that when you align with the truth principles as taught in Unity, as taught in metaphysics, God is omnipresent. Everywhere, no place, God is not. And that prayer changes things, and that we are called to go make a difference in our world. Those are three very important principles upon which we stand. And I believe that every one of you out here feels that same way, whether you call it that or not. You're aware, I'm sure, of a presence in you, regardless of what name you give to it. You're aware of this presence that goes with you and seems to be above the story or the mental chatter that we tell ourselves or repeat to ourselves. It's sort of like the witness to what we are thinking. Eckhart Tolle said it wonderfully in his book, The Power of Now. Up until his 29th year, life was unbearable, and he had considered suicide because he kept hearing over and over again what a failure he was, how depressing his life was, over and over, until one night he laid down with the idea that he didn't want to wake up, and he had a moment of illumined consciousness 3 or 4 hours later in which he understood everything for himself. It was his moment of aha. It was that awakening moment. I don't believe that he is somebody more special than you and I, and neither does he say that. We all have access to this witness, this inner teacher who listens to what we say. Tolle's inner teacher did not believe the story he told himself about his life up to that point. Otherwise, Tolle couldn't have been transformed. Think about that for a moment. You cannot lift yourself up by your own bootstraps, truly, because your own bootstraps are where you stand. You're just going to pull hard. What you need to do is get in touch with the witness, the presence, the part of you that is perfect. It knows nothing but perfection about you. It is nothing less than the God presence that's in you. This is a stellar truth to hold on to. It's something that I do daily. I'm not perfect, but I am perfecting. That's a term that I coined, which means that I am going on to perfection. When you're ordained in ministry, the idea is you are to go on to perfection. They say, and was said to me, go thou forth and take thine authority, which means all the classes are over, all the focus groups are finished, the committees are done, you're on your own, kid, outside of the district superintendent's going to listen every now and then and make sure that you don't pick up any bad habits. And that's really the way we want it. You know, I believe in that. And I might say, and interject a note here, that the psychological evaluations of people in ministry are very important. It saved us from having Jim Jones of Guyana being a minister in a mainline church. So some people get a little bit upset by having to go through those evaluations. I don't. I believe in them because they also are able to pull out what you may be thinking unconsciously, but though in a clinical way. This morning I wanted to talk to you in a less clinical way about the story you're telling yourself and repeating over and over again, and maybe wondering why you're getting the same results that you've always gotten. You are made new every moment. All you have to do is realize this and catch the wonder of yourself once again. When we were children, the stories that we told ourselves were fun, innocent, lighthearted. They were, and many times they're the memories that we hold on to with the sweetness today, because we told ourselves, we remember through the prism of time, and we sometimes enlarge upon the stories that were there. In other words, it wasn't that great when we were 7 or 8. It was good, but it wasn't that great because memory has a way of filtering out the things that aren't so good. And I want to invite you to take advantage of that today. That's the presence, the positive presence in you, which acts as a filter so that life doesn't completely overwhelm you. And I believe when people get overwhelmed and they sink into a depressive state or an upset state or however you want to call it, they have allowed the presence of these thoughts to inundate them. They've forgotten that the mind has great restorative powers. All they need to do is get themselves out of the way, as Tony did. He said there were two voices. One who said, I can't take this anymore. And the other one that said, I hear you saying that. He said, which one was I going to believe? I decided to believe the one that says, I'm witness to you saying, I can't take this anymore. In other words, there was some part of him, and I call it the truth, that heard what his egoic, or I call it sometimes the megoic idea about who he was. And he was able to step back and identify with the spirit of truth that was within him and went forward. Look, 25 years later, the wonderful work that he's done on consciousness, presence, and the now moment, which is the only moment we live. But in those moments, we tell ourselves stories. And sometimes the stories build us up, but oftentimes we remember those things that tore us down, that hurt, and that we say we can't seem to let go of. Why? It gets us a feeling, and I mentioned this before, kind of like when we have a hangnail or a bite down on a sore tooth. It hurts so good to do. It feels so good to hurt so bad sometimes. And we get in that and we realize after a while this is not where we want to live, but we don't know sometimes how to get out of it. The way to get out of it is to declare the moment new, start again, wipe the slate clean. You're able to do that. You have the power of choice, the most important power that you were born with. And today I invite you, if you're telling yourself a story that tells you that you're less than who you want to be and who you are, that you release that and let it go. Sometimes the stories we tell are good for attention. I know in my own life, there are times that I wanted to have attention and I could get that in a somewhat negative way. For example, it was about 15 years ago that I had to have a surgical procedure on my neck where they stick a needle in and inject cortisone because it appeared I had a cervical herniated disc. And afterwards they tell you to rest. And boy did I decided to make the whole house want to be resting with me, and I wanted everybody to pay attention, my wife and my stepdaughters. And I got in there and laid in the bed. I had everything that was there. The drinks, the aspirin, whatever, all the things beside me. And then I got a little lonely. Everybody was doing things and I wasn't. And so I would knock on the table and say, honey, I feel worse. And she'd come in there and she'd say, what can I do for you? I said, I don't know, I just don't feel well. And she said, well, you'll be better. They said it'll be a couple days and you'll be all right. 30 minutes later, honey, I feel worse. Finally, she had the presence of mind to look at me and say, do you really just want some attention and you want some company? And I said, yeah, I really do. And it's funny how when I say these things and remember them, I even said it in a sort of weak voice. Yeah, I do. You know, kind of like, you know, be with me here. I learned something about myself during that time. I learned that weakness sometimes, sickness sometimes gets us the attention that we crave and need from ourselves first. Think about this. If we take care of ourselves, if we are looking after ourselves, we're good masters of our mental household, then when sickness or any type of thing like that comes, we're going to be more adept at letting it go and passing into healing. But if we want to say to everyone, ain't it awful? Come join me. Boy, have I got a story to tell you about what I've been through. That's unfortunately called happy hour at many bars. Where they swap these stories, and I call it being members of the Ain't It Awful Club from 5 to 6 in the afternoon. Ain't it awful my wife does this, ain't it awful my kids do that, it goes on and on. This calls, the way of life I'm talking about calls for a discipline, but a loving, wholesome discipline and a gentle discipline with yourself. You don't want to be a brutal taskmaster to yourself, otherwise you're just mirroring what you feel has been done to you in the world already. I'm talking about a new way of being and thinking. A way that you can release the story that you've told yourself about yourself that's not getting the results you want. And step back and have a new way of it coming true. In other words, stopping in the moment, realizing who you are, bringing yourself up short, loving yourself unconditionally, giving yourself that wonderful attention that you want, and knowing that what you're going through came to pass, not to stay. And the story that you tell yourself about what you're going through, whether it's a minor procedure or it's the worst thing that's ever happened to you, what you say to yourself is going to keep it alive. And if you want to keep it alive, if you, as some people say, I just can't let go of these memories, or I don't want to forget how I felt. And then they bring this negativity into their current lives and wonder why it doesn't work. Now, I'm not one to get up here and say be callous or cold about the memories that you've had or the hurts that you've been through. Of course, we process them. We put our best, our loving intention around them. We forgive ourselves and others. Sometimes we have to forgive people for dying that we love. Sometimes we have to forgive people for doing things that we think we'd never ever do if it was us. But then every now and then we stumble across a time where we realize, well, I did do something that was similar to that and I wish I hadn't. See, we bring ourselves up by the memories we have and the way we think. You get the idea that I'm saying today, the way we think is so important. The memories that we hold, the thoughts we entertain, and what we hold on to and tell ourselves is true about who we are. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what you've been through right now. This moment is fresh and new. The moment 5 minutes from now is going to be fresh and new. It was the moment 5 minutes hence. You're standing in eternity right now. And you have the ability to make a different choice. The story that you can tell yourself about the things that have hurt you the worst is something that you can turn a twist on if you think about it in a different way. In other words, what are you today because of what you went through? Are you bitter? Are you anxiety ridden? Is it just something that sits in the back of your mind and gives you an identity? Oh, how we love to have an identity And so many people get it through suffering. How many of us say, I am happy, healthy, wondrous child of the Most High God, and I go forth in joy and love to meet my day, versus ain't it awful? So much to be upset about. Honey, I got this back problem and you just have to sit here for a while. Why couldn't I have just said, I'd like your attention for a while, I'd like to be with you? Why did I have to use the guilt thing to say, after all, I've been through this and you need to be with me here? Under whatever pretext I called her into the room. Humans are funny. We have to have a lighthearted sense of humor about ourselves. And I've been told, men especially are babies when we get ill. And I believe it. I think you women are far tougher. You have to give birth. And we are the ones that think we have it so bad, you know. And I said, when I got married, I said, I understand that I have this tendency to want attention when I get not feeling well, just love me anyway. And she said she would, and I tried to work on it through the years, and I think I've gotten pretty good at it, because right now she's in another state caring for her mother, and I'm alone with 2 cats, and so I'm giving the attention, and they are living me instead of me the other way around. The point I'm making is a story that I tell myself today about what I go through, and the fact that things are not exactly the way I want them is not what I want to have happen on the outside. I want to live in the love and the light and the beauty and the truth of the moment. I think all of us do, but we don't know how sometimes to do that, because our story gets in the way. You've told yourself a story perhaps all your life. You are a citizen of this state. You were born on a certain date. Your parents were. All these are facts. I'm talking about the truth about you. Facts are things that are good guideposts and signposts, but the truth of your being is that you are a remarkable, wonderful creation of God on purpose, here blessed to make a difference, blessed to be a blessing. What did Jesus say when people would come to him in trouble? It was always at the end, or pretty much a lot of times. Walk ye in new life. Forget the things that were. Go and don't do that anymore. It hurts you. Jesus was about healing in the moment. It wasn't about some type of morbid repentance that had to be rolling in the dirt and saying, I'm a sinner. It said, stand up. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Walk forward in glory and grace, remembering who you are. And these things that I do, you shall do greater, because I go to the Father, which I interpret as the Holy Spirit. And that Christ's presence made contact and blessed the whole mighty world. We have a story to tell to the nations that will turn their hearts to the right. A story of peace and beauty, a story of love and light. When the darkness is turned to dawning, and the morning to noonday light, and Christ's great kingdom has come on earth, the kingdom of love and light. That's a hymn. We have a story to tell to the nations. You have a story to tell to yourself. That's the traditional church talking about being missionaries. I'm talking about being a missionary to yourself, because you can't be a good missionary to the nations if you haven't done it to yourself. And what you have to do to yourself is forgive, love, accept, and always know the way you speak to yourself and the things you tell yourself are going to form your life. The hurts will come. That's part of the package on this planet. We're going to get beat up sometimes. We're going to lose people we love. We're going to have relationships that don't work out. We're going to lose jobs. We're going to lose cherished ideas. The passing of time seems to take care of that sometimes. And what are we left with? We're left with this wondrous power to choose. And choose a story that you will tell yourself. Make it a good one. Make it one that you are, as Joseph Campbell says, the hero of your journey. You're on a heroic mission. And though you think it may be very mundane, the things you go through, I promise you, you wouldn't be here if you didn't have a major part to play and something to give in this thing called life. The great teachers, the great inventors, the creators, the ones that were forward thinkers throughout history were those who put forth the idea of the prominence of the individual, the creative aspect of who we are. Those that were fearful and insecure constantly told others about how they were just little human beings and that they needed control, sinners in the hands of an angry God. That was a sermon that was preached by a minister named Jonathan Edwards years ago. You probably heard that title. But it was a horrible, horrible thing. It scared children. It was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to listen to, about basically God dangling people over the fires of hell and dropping them in one at a time. That's the product of moribund imagination. That's the product of attributing their egoic ideas to the divine. The divine has no ego. It's pure love, as you are. And you've gathered experiences to tell yourself stories about yourself. And this presence that is in everything and in you, this presence awaits for you to say, I'll step out of that role. I'm willing to face the insecurity that will come momentarily while I redirect a new identity under the help of the God presence that's within me. And then the story that you tell yourself becomes not something that's negative or that drags you down in the past. It becomes a stepping stone where you say, I'm so thankful that happened because I am where I am today. If I hadn't gone through A, B, C, or D, I wouldn't be who or what I am today. Never lose in your imagination. Never lose in your mind. Always figure a way to turn that negative to a positive. And it's not always easy. But the way that I found that helps is to remember, whether I like it or not, this moment is new and fresh. All I've got to do is align my intention with it. And then forgive myself for telling myself a story that was less than the best. How do I know that I had to go through what I'm telling myself the story about? The evidence of that is that it showed up in my life. You don't need to feel guilty about that. You don't need to say, oh, I've attracted some terrible things. No. Forgive yourself, move on. Understand it's part of the condition. You are a work in progress. If you were a finished product, you wouldn't be here. Think about this. The great architect of this universe did not build a stairway leading nowhere. So many people think that the beginning of this life is the beginning and the end is the end, and all they see is all there is. I've heard it. But I say something different. There's more than meets the eye, because there is more yet to come. You're not finished. And it's going to come to you, as it comes to all of us. Life will come to you as you direct your mind to be accepting of it. Acceptance. That's not a bad word. In fact, some people have said that's the first law of spiritual growth, is to accept. Serenity prayer says that. God grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change. But we accept. Accept that you tell yourself a story, or that you're going through a story that's less than the best right now. You can at least accept for the moment. And then as you get more adept at the practice, it can be for a day, and a month, and a year. Before you know it, you're living in a state of grace, and you're, through this acceptance, you're telling yourself another story. Because when you live this way of life I'm talking about, you can't help but shine to everyone else. And the best sermon, I've always said, is the one that I see, not that I hear. I model this behavior in my life as often as I can. Sometimes the human experience does get to me, but it's shorter now. And there are things that I can do to aid in my progress as I tell myself a different story. And one of the things that I like to do is spiritual exercises, visualization, meditation, creative visualization, moments of meditation where I forgive unconditionally, moments where I say to the universe, I accept things as they are now. Show me more. My prayers oftentimes are not supplicative. They are to open my eyes and be aware. Show me more of what I need to understand about myself, about my life, and about others. How can I truly live out these two important things? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, body, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. And on this hangs all the law and the prophets. Those are the first two commandments. Christ Jesus said they were the most important, and on those two things, the rest of the commandments hang on those two. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. If you're going to love yourself as you need to be, as you want to be, then you're going to have to give up a story that you're anything less than perfection. The old metaphysical statement, God only knows perfection about you. God only knows the truth about you. Those are words that are powerful words. Can you imagine if we paused for a moment every day and sent this out into the world around us? If we said God only knows perfection about this world, God is the truth, active, alive in the affairs of our world, what would the collective consciousness do? What if we gave as much attention to that as we do a coffee break? Aligned mental purpose. Have you heard the story about the 100th monkey, where one person changed behavior, one monkey changed behavior in one area of the world, and another monkey on the other side of the world began to do the same thing this monkey was doing just by connected thought. I believe it was eating bananas in a different way or something like this. Ken Kai's talked about it in his book, The 100th Monkey, and it talks about the power, the awesome power of thought and intention. We think that this world is so big, our thoughts shrink it. You know why? Because we can think about a world. We can take ourselves around the world in our minds right now. And it had to be done in our minds before it could have never been done physically. We need to think about that too. What we think about, we bring about. I want to remind you this morning of the power that you carry. I want to remind you of your stature. I want to remind you of who you are in truth. You are a bright and shining light, here on purpose to express something that no one else can. You are the author of your life. That scares hell out of some people. Other people, it empowers. And sometimes a lot of us are in the middle while we grasp what that means. I'll tell you what it means. It's take charge of you. And if you don't know what I mean by that, I'm talking about right here. You can't do it with other people. Forget trying to change them. You can only change yourself. And when you take charge of this right now, you are engaging in the creative power of the universe. You are made of star stuff. You are made of the very stuff that we look up at and marvel. Have you ever wondered what the Purple Mountain's majesty would be without a witness? Do you know that's inside you? When you see that beautiful sunset or you see that mountain, do you realize that that wonder is in you? The mountain's a rock. See for what a powerful creator you are? See what you're telling yourself? And a lot of us are doing the same things when we see mountains and sunsets. But let's not forget, that's a projection inside ourselves. That's the God presence recognizing beauty. So what do I say this morning that I want you to know more than anything else about this idea of telling yourself a different story? I know I've moved around a little bit because the energy here sometimes affects me and what I say, and I feel like there are certain things that certain people need to hear. I want to tell you this, and I think it covers the whole of what I wanted to express today. The story of filling your name will become the best part of your life when you're able to forgive yourself and say, for the things that are lesser, if I'd have known better, I'd have done better. And think of this. You can only do what you know how to do at the time. You can't go higher than your consciousness is. So if your consciousness was at a lesser place, forgive it. It was part of your growth. Use everything for your upliftment, advancement, and growth. Take care of yourself so you can take care of others. You're a work in progress. So forgive those things that you know aren't for your best, or that you're telling yourself, oh, if I only, if only, if only. Stand inside to the true stature of yourself as a spiritual being and say, I have the power to choose. I intend a different direction. I am open, receptive, and ready to receive the truth of my being. I speak words of life, prosperity, abundance, and wholeness in my experience. You keep saying that enough, your subconscious believes it. And when your subconscious believes it, you begin to find the evidence for it outside of yourself. Our thoughts are really creative and our intentions mean something. I bless every one of you today on your journey. I hope the story you tell yourself is one that releases any idea that you're not perfect and powerful and wonderful, just as you are, and you can grow. Don't put a negative label on yourself. Don't hug that egoic idea of what other people say you should feel, or what you even think you should feel based on what everybody else does. You're not everybody else. You're an individual person. And the one thing you get complete, unquestionable, unchallengeable control over is your own mind. Use it well. Use it in a way that affirms the truth, that gives you what you want, but most importantly, that realizes that you are lovable, and that you not only are that, you are love incarnate, on purpose, on mission, on point, with a destiny to fulfill. God bless each and every one of you this morning. I send you love on your way.
In the midst
Of his children,
of the
that he would be, doesn't take very many. They can be just 2 or 3, and I feel that saints be said that I felt of times before. Surely I can say I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I feel His mighty power and His grace. There's a holy rush of angels' wings. I see glory in each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. There's a holy rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Together, let's take a deep breath and be aware of where we are. Our feet on the floor. Perhaps our palms are upraised in our lap. This is a moment of coming to ourselves, of remembrance. In this wonderful place that we are right now, we remember who we are. We recognize this presence as a warm ball of golden light that emanates from the center of our being, drives away every shadow, every dark spot. This is our visit and our time of renewal, of communication with the Spirit within. We're aware of this energy in our body, and we take abundantly of healing and wholeness. We place that wherever we need it, in our mind, our body. We are recreated and remade in this moment. Loving witness, the God presence within us, invites us to tell ourselves the greatest story of all. That we are loved and that we are loved. And as we witness that to ourselves, we're able to do it to others. The thoughts, intentions that we hold for ourselves this morning, we know vibrate in the thought atmosphere of everyone else who's thinking similar thoughts around this world. We know the truth of the words. We think 1,000 thoughts, and they come to pass by our attention, by the emotion that we invest in them. We know, as it said, we think in secret and it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass. We're powerful creators. We remind ourselves of that right now. Christ's Spirit gently directs us in the areas we need to forgive ourselves and other people. As we are more deeply into this relaxation experience that we have right now, into this experience of accepting unconditional love, we forgive ourselves for believing we were anything less than whole. And the story we tell ourselves right now is one of purpose, dedicated intention, forgiveness, knowing we did the best we could at the time. Had we known better, we'd have done better. The love that we are makes all things beautiful and wonderful in our lives. We allow that healing to occur right now. And in the silence, we listen. And as we recognize this love that we are, we stand grounded in it. We send that love to our neighbors, to all those around the world, those that are oppressed, those that need comfort, those that are going through difficulties, as well as those who are celebrating and enjoy. We know we're mighty creators. We blend these thoughts with everyone thinking similar thoughts, and we rise in consciousness, recognizing that. As we gently bring our awareness back to the presence, we give thanks for this time of recreation, for this moment of renewal, for this fresh start, for this new story that unfolds in our lives. We give thanks to this infinite presence. And so it is. Amen. Now we come to time in our service when we are blessed to be able to give, because we know that as we give, we receive wondrous, blessed law of life. I ask for you to give the best gift you are able. As I mentioned to our online audience, we are enabled to do ministry because of your generosity, because of your love, and because of your caring here at Unity of Boerne. The house that love built. You are in it. You are it. And it's wonderful to be in your presence. It's wonderful to have those who are tuning in online. Please give your best gift that you're able this morning, knowing it comes back to you. Pressed down, shaken together, running over. I mentioned to you online this morning, you can give your gift by pressing the PayPal button at the bottom of the page or sending your gift to Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas, 78006. Thank you for your generosity. Together.
Can you give us the Wi-Fi, because I'm trying to donate, but the signal's so weak without Wi-Fi that it's not working. Like,
No, we don't have Wi-Fi over here.
oh, okay.
That's it.
I'll talk to you about that after service.
Okay.
Preachers and money, they want to know about each other.
Because it's not.
Together we say, divine
Thy
love
love
through me
blesses and multiplies all that I am,
all that I have, all
all
that
that
I
I
give,
give,
and all that I receive.
receive.
And I send it forth
with my blessings and my love.
God bless you. Thank you.
Between your heart and mine, love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time?
Thank you for being here. The service is always more with you. India, thank you for your music.
Thank you.
Jay, thank you for a wonderful message. Awesome. Let's stand and make a big circle.
Can we hold hands yet?
I will hold hands. You don't have to.
We haven't quite gotten,
Hands over.
Come on. Uh-oh. The circle has been united.
together we say the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Brother, good to see you.
How are you?
Doing great. Is that a name or just the name of the tower? Well, thank you for being with us today. I'm Tom.
No, I did not get it because it was like $30. It was really expensive. I got melatonin. I got good stuff. I got melatonin. That's what I'm
You probably did.
So, yeah, when, like, if it's,
Yeah, it's like that thin
well, I don't know. I gravitated to the hot weather. I first came here in a year and
I know it's scary right now, but that's probably a good thing, because I collect that free stuff, so now's your chance to go through the
void, changing between.
I got here on that.
And then I went on down a few years later, I got to go to South America. A couple of years off the equator, and really so now it was really very good. But I went to
You can eat it there if you like. Do you all three want to be together?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right, I'll be right back.
I think it was like, I was 12 actually.
Yeah.
I was living with that.
That was helpful.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, more than the lotion, cream,
Way young.
his daughter would get.
And then I went on a cruise for my first time, but it was really effective. This time, one of my friends that I know is in high school. Just a bit of excuse me. Excuse me, sorry.
Form of love I don't know. So, I don't know, something changed in me.
Whole time. And thank you for that.
I'll take that over whatever you want. Please don't make it like that. I had both my fireplace.
Yeah, they are.
I have to do something different.
Yes, I can't get word later. I have
Oh, well,
I'm trying to be, so there's like probably 6 different
Jeff could do it.
ways that
that would be anti-social.
Are you telling us it's time to leave now?
I just don't want to make some money.
Just make sure you figure out how to get his money.
But they came from France who was just wild. Are you gonna come to lunch too, or what? Okay. Yeah.
What's really nice is you
You're still, I can do it outside. Yeah, no, I'm gonna, I can still do it, I'll just wait till I get a signal.
not today.
Okay. All right, thank you.
No, I'm gonna still do it.
I gotta figure out how to.
Yeah.
What's going on with my wife.
Yeah, I don't know, like, sometimes if there's like a metal hook, it'll interfere with the cell phone, but I'll get a signal. When I get tired.
Thank you, buddy.
Because it's already set up, I just hit donate, it's like,
Won't take it.
we'll take it.
Okay.
You work on Sunday, but maybe I'll be sitting closer to the window or so.